and we're sick of burying police officers,
Totally.
maybe something will change.
Well, and it's not just about the officer that was buried today. It's about his wife and kids that are left.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. And that's what it comes down to.
Toasting to triumphs and celebrating the unbreakable American spirit. Welcome to Choir Practice. Brought to you by Law Enforcement Today.
I'm so excited for this episode of Choir Practice because my good friends are up. I keep wanting to say you guys are up from Texas, but you're not up from Texas.
Nope.
Where are you here from? Ohio?
Ohio.
This award right here is my big plug of the day. It was one of the greatest honors of my life to receive from the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame, the Civilian Service to Law Enforcement Award. But this episode is definitely not about, I hate you so much. This episode is not about me. It is about the incredible people behind this Hall of Fame. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But first, my co-host here, Bernie, what's up?
Not much. Let's do a prayer. It's been a long day. We'll talk about that a little bit after you talk about you. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day, and thank you for our guests who've traveled here from Ohio and the work that they're doing honoring law enforcement heroes in society. We know we walk amongst them each and every day because they are all heroes, but some of those exceptional people and the people who support them, like Kyle, like this show, we thank you for bringing us together to bring joy and hope to people in their greatest time of need. God bless you, and thank you for bringing us all together. Amen.
Amen. What do you got there?
I've got Saber Torch. For law enforcement, these are what they call retroreflective patches. You hit them in a light, they illuminate. They're game changers. One of the big things that cost officers their lives is lack of visibility. These are incredible. It's an all-American company out of Texas, outstanding family-owned business, and they're here to serve you. Sabertorch.com. Please reach out to them. If you're in New Jersey, they're covered by Solmes's uniforms. But they are a game changer. We need to save more officers from being killed in the line of duty and definitely getting hit by cars. We'll talk about that. This wouldn't have helped in this case, in the case we're going to talk about, but at nighttime, high vis is what we need.
I'll tell you what, man, I met these guys at SHOT Show.
Mhm.
Absolutely incredible organization, some great people behind the group, but what a brilliant, simple, life-saving product.
Yeah, and it's patented, so
I mean,
only them.
Went through the demo. It's just super cool stuff. And we need more technology like this and we are talking some pretty low cost, relatively speaking,
Absolutely.
technology that will literally save the life of countless officers. So Saber Torch, this is not a paid endorsement. We just love these guys,
Yeah.
love the product. And so if you run an agency, you highly, highly recommend that you check them out.
Absolutely.
These guys, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
You spent a little time with them today.
Yeah, so we set up to shoot the show. We dedicated day to shoot some, and we normally kind of break bread around 10, 11 o'clock. Well, unfortunately, it's hard for me. Trooper Aaron Pelletier was killed last week, the week before this taping, and today happened to be his funeral. To support law enforcement is not just to talk about us, but to walk with us. And I get a text message today from Megan and Adam last night saying, we want to come. We want to be there. And so, auspiciously, we met through tragedy and went through this together. And I have to tell you, there's not two other people I would have rather gone through this with. Your compassion and your love of law enforcement is demonstrated way before this. But today, even more exemplary. And thank you so much for being there.
Thank you for going with us.
Yeah,
It meant a
definitely.
lot to us to be there with you and experience it. And it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
And my dad said before we went, he said, I hope you never have to go to another one again, but it's going to be life-changing. And it was.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
was.
I had never been to one, and I was emotional the entire time. Just like if you never want to go to one, but once you go to one, you sit there and say, okay, this is bigger than all of us. The industry, the family, the partnerships, and everything it was incredible in a really emotional way.
Yeah.
So I was blessed to meet you guys in person. 3-4 months ago,
Mhm.
and just I fell in love with you guys there, but I fell in love with the organization when I first heard about it, because there is no other group out there. There is no other organization, period, that is doing the work that you guys do to honor law enforcement, to honor the men and women who serve and protect our communities in our country, who their service and their sacrifice go unrecognized every single day. And I mean, I was obviously super honored being out there, but I had no idea the emotional impact that it would have to be walking among giants. To have officers who were shot in the line of duty, who have made these lifetime achievements. Tom, who was on a previous episode here. It was just such an incredible opportunity. So I guess we should start with your formal introductions. Who the heck are you guys? What do you do for a living? That whole thing.
Yep.
But what's your why? Why'd you guys start this?
Well, I guess I'll go first. I'm Megan Stockburger, co-founder of the National LEO Hall of Fame. And I think that what I want to tell you most is my why is this, is connecting people, the family, and the support that we can offer law enforcement, and the perspective that I can give from being the daughter of a law enforcement officer. And I think that us being best friends for 25 years now, and knowing how each other work, and doing something like this from like on the other side and the business side, and applying it here, like I was talking earlier to some of you, it's my purpose. All of it aligned, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help. I'm going to do what I can to change. And even if it's saving one officer's life or changing their life or their child or their wife, then I've done my job.
I'm Adam Davenport, co-founder of the National LEO Hall of Fame. I started running it's called the Entrepreneurial Business Excellence Hall of Fame in 2006. And it's an award program for entrepreneurs and business owners strictly in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. And in 2010,
Yeah.
2010, Meg and I went to high school together. I really took over the program. Like, I have no idea how to run an event, actually. I mean, I can sell sponsorships. I can do things like that.
Did he just say they went to high school together in 2010?
No.
2001.
Okay,
I
was
mean,
gonna
we
say.
can go with that. I'm all right with that.
Works
But
for me.
I was like, man, I'm feeling real old right now. I'm sorry,
No.
continue.
No, so in 2016, after our business event, her father came up to her and said, "Why aren't you doing an awards program and a Hall of Fame for law enforcement?" And Megan just looked at us and like, there has to be something. How is there not? And
there
the rest is
wasn't.
history. The rest is history. You
we
know,
started out small, local in Ohio, Northwest Ohio, a lunch of 60 people. And then we had someone attend that believed in us and said, this needs to go national. This needs to happen everywhere. And we just ran with it. And then this year, you were inducted in Texas. And that's where we're at now in Fort Worth, and continue to grow and support as many law enforcement across the country as we can.
You brought something for the wall. Let's talk about that before we dive in further.
all right. So my family's part owner of a distillery in Michigan called Temperance Distilling Company. So once you told us about the wall of whiskey, I was like, oh, I know something that we can give you that you do not have, because it's only sold in Michigan and it's barely even served. It's
great.
barely even sold anymore.
So this means I'm going to really love it. Now,
Man.
So we're gonna see if
Yes, please.
we're gonna see if you like it.
And you guys are both going to sign the bottle, and the bottle is
Okay.
going to go on the wall.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
So, for those of you who have not seen the show before, we often have guests bring a bottle of whiskey. We share a cocktail. They tell you a story about a good day on the job, a lousy day on the job, maybe a little bit about what they're doing now. And so, guys, to you and to all those of you
You
who
guys.
serve and protect,
Thank you.
Trooper Pelletier.
to Trooper
Yes.
Pelletier. And before we dive further, I want to talk. God Almighty.
That's good.
I was like, wait, we have a reaction coming, don't we?
That's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Goes down smooth.
I've actually been super excited about this episode because the fact that you guys came full circle and ended up in Texas, and the work that you're doing. I'm gonna do something kind of weird right now. So these boots, I put up a post about these boots. These are my Texas boots. These boots are beat to hell, as you could tell. I had a speaking engagement in Texas. This was 2017. And I realized it was me and Mark Geist, Oz from Benghazi. And I realized that you had all of these dudes with killer boots and belt buckles. And so while I was on stage, I pointed it out. Flash forward, someone actually sent me those boots and said, now, whenever you speak in Texas, you better be wearing these boots.
Yep.
And so I have worn those boots all over the country, speaking engagements everywhere, shoots that we've done on the border. I've literally bled in those boots. I've cried on those boots, interviewing surviving family members of officers killed in the line of duty. The very last time I wore those boots on stage is the very last time I'm going to. It's time to retire those boots, and that was at the Hall of Fame. So these stinky ass, dirty boots are now officially going on the whiskey wall. They are being retired, and our friends over at Durango have promised me that they're sending new boots to continue this journey. And what's kind of fun about this whole thing is that your journey is obviously your story, but it's a story of so many other officers. It's a story of so many people who have made so many sacrifices. But the Hall of Fame isn't where this ends. This is just the beginning of your mission. So let's talk a little bit more about your plans.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I think I'll start with the fact that we want to continue to support law enforcement officers in telling the positive stories. That's our first goal always. We need to change the narrative. And as we've talked all day and in the past, it's important to showcase those positive stories and not the heroic, life-saving, big deal, the ones you don't hear about every day. And that's what was important to us. For example, when I was little, I learned from my dad, who was a law enforcement officer, that he took care of the people that he ran into on the streets separately from his department. Nobody ever knew about it. And that's kind of what I want to continue to do, is highlight those stories that nobody knows. These officers are giving from the kindness of their hearts. They're not making a ton of money, and they're trying to help everyone. So then when we started thinking about that, we realized we can't just stop at supporting them in the positive stories. And we want to create a nonprofit. We are a nonprofit, but we want to create a program for mental health care that is free and anonymous for law enforcement, where we can send them to places if they struggle. For example, if a wife and a husband, which we know this job is very hard when you're married. And I can say that just because I saw my parents go through a lot of things. And I understand it. I want someone to be able to call the Hall of Fame and say, hey, my wife and I are going through it. Can you help us? And we say, let's go over to this retreat in Connecticut. I know Kyle, he's working on this or that, and you'll be perfect there. And we can pay for that and send them there and get the help they need and get them back to where they can be. Because I feel like if they're in a good headspace and you're happy, then they can do the job better, and people will start noticing that too. Like, it's always negative because they see so much every day. We have to change the narrative on that, and it has to be told to everyone in a way they can understand it.
And I remember kind of going along that is one of our winners, our Founders Award 2 years ago, was Louis Espinoza, the Toledo Police Department. He was telling us that cops and firemen are different. Firemen sees a dead body, they get 2 to 3 days off. A cop may see a dead body or a suicide in a closet, get a couple hours off, and they're back on the street. And we're just like, oh, how is that even, how can you do that? And I know you're law enforcement. I'm like, I could never do it. You know, so we need to get that narrative out there and everyone knowing that that's what you guys go through on a daily basis. And you mentioned Officer Pelletier this morning, which it was just,
you're going from call to call, right? So you're going from, it could be, you know, a traffic stop, then you're going to a robbery, then you're going to a domestic, and then you have a murder or a suicide, and then you're going home. And you're like, hey, what's up, fam? No, that's not what's happening. You know, I lived it for years where it was just the walking on eggshells in your home, because it's hard to separate the job for a lot of officers. And so, like, if we can help bridge that gap, then we're doing more than just honoring them on a stage.
I have an issue with a lot of nonprofits. Bernie and I have had this conversation in the past, because there are nonprofits out there that have been started and are run originally for the right purposes, and they turn into a cash cow. I think it's important to point out, because you two are like humble to the point of stubborn. I want to point out that neither one of you are taking a paycheck. You've been pouring your heart and soul and your own finances into this. And so when organizations come on board and they sponsor an event, the National Law Enforcement Hall of Fame, the induction dinner, right? They're not putting money into your pockets. It's just the opposite. I've watched as you guys have bled money into this. And so it's really reassuring to me to know that every penny that these sponsors contribute and that these donors contribute is quite literally going to honor these officers. And I think that's so incredible, man. There are just so many events that you go to and you get there and you're like, man, I paid $100, $200 for this ticket. That dude just got a new pool at his house and he's the founder of this nonprofit. Like, what's the deal there? But knowing that all of those funds are going directly to the cause makes me feel super secure in promoting you guys, because it's our reputation on the line too when we say, hey, you should support this organization.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things when we moved from Ohio to Texas last year, and it was actually my neighbor at home. He looked right at me. He was like, Adam, the only reason you and Megan have the Hall of Fame in Toledo is because of convenience. You need to be in Florida or Texas. And at the time, we had a couple of our board members that were in Texas, like, come on down. We'll show you what it's really like. And we got that, but at the same time, it doubled our budget. And it's
but
not
everything
your
is
budget,
worth
your
it.
cost, right?
Yeah.
I was like, the money didn't just start flowing in.
No,
Yeah,
and that's okay too. We will get there, but it is important to know that all of that is going back to help officers, and no one else is doing it, like you said. So are we just going to lie down and let it continue, let the negativity spread?
Yeah.
And today was that motivation. We talk about how you get struggles, and him and I, you know, we're like, how are we going to keep doing this?
Right.
How am I going to keep putting money in and taking care of my 4 kids and his baby on the way and still support law enforcement? Today reminded me it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Like you said, God will help me. It doesn't matter. We're going to get it and get there and help as many officers as we can.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about, wellness, I can just go back to an experience in my agency. We had a really turbulent 1 year. We had a mass shooting. A year later, an officer was shot. Generally, it was both on, there were shifts with the same officers. And I was doing EAP with some people and made the really kind of courageous decision, said, we're taking the whole evening shift off the line for 48 hours. Caught a lot of flack for it, but I called the chief, said, this is what we're doing. They can't do this anymore right now. They can't function. They need to go back to their roots. They need to be with their families. They need to be with their friends, whatever they need to do, but they don't need to be here because too many times we do this. And the only suggestion I would say is we got to start at the top.
Right.
Because the culture changes when our chiefs of police, our captains, our lieutenants say, this is enough. Because us little guys kind of waving that little flag. Luckily, I had a good relationship with the chief that was in place at the time, so I didn't catch a lot of flack. But one of my captains definitely gave me a lot of shit over it.
And that's the problem right there. And that's what we hear from law enforcement across the country is certain departments, of course, have that leadership that has your back no matter what, but a majority do not, because A, they're looking out for themselves, and B, they don't want to get involved in the politics of it all. And to me, then you're in the wrong job, because everyone that puts that uniform on is family, and everyone that supports them is family. And if you don't support that no matter what, and you're not there for them when they're down, then what are we doing here? I mean, my dad, for example, 12 hours spent on a phone with a guy that would only speak to him. And he ended up killing himself on the phone with my dad after 12 hours. My dad went back to work the next morning.
Absolutely. Yep.
That was that. No big deal.
Yep.
And that's not normal. Yeah.
You know
It's
what
just
you
not
do?
normal.
You go in your office, or in my case, you go to your cruiser, you go park, you stay away from the public that day, and you probably spend most of the day crying in your cruiser.
Yeah.
You really do. And it's sad because it has to change, and the value of our officers are millions. And the respect that only comes when an officer dies. You saw it today.
Right.
Connecticut is one of the people who make fun of this state. He makes fun of Connecticut. I love Connecticut.
I hate this.
$500,000 on a GoFundMe for Trooper Pelletiers' family from members of the state of Connecticut. That is a strong statement to law
Is
enforcement.
it up to $500,000?
Yeah,
That's
over
amazing.
$500,000.
That's amazing.
But not including, I wish I could remember the name of this company who's printing t-shirts. So David Portnoy from Barstool Sports, he's doing it. There's another company in South Windsor, Connecticut. I want to get them on the show because they do these things all the time. They're firing off t-shirts, $20, all the proceeds go to the family.
Right.
You know, it's, and to even give our government in Connecticut credit, not more than 10 days, 14 days ago, the governor signed a bill, $100,000 for the family of a fallen law enforcement officer, no questions asked. Never thinking that
Right. It
this
would be
came into play
happening, right?
about a
Yeah.
week later.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think that's amazing. I'm not knocking that at all. We need more of that. We need to encourage that. However, the policies in this state are policies that are pro-criminal policies that are leading to deaths of officers. So that would be like me being like, yo, bro, here, I got $100 for it. And I hand you $100. You're like, dude, you're the man. Thank you so much. And then I punch you in the face. You're like, what was I? Dude, I gave you $100. Like, we should be good, right? If I'm going to just continue to punch you in the face and not love on you and support you and provide you with the tools and resources you need, and the people who are coming after you lock their asses up, then how much good have I really? That's the problem that I have with this state. I think it's amazing that we are giving that money to the families of the fallen. It is beyond well-deserved. It should be a requirement. I am 1,000% on board with my tax dollars going to those families. What I have a problem with is the policies that have perpetuated this cycle of violence against law enforcement. That's what infuriates
But those
me.
policies are, that's everywhere. Because you know what?
It's not everywhere.
It is, because you can't, because you're a Democrat, your value is nothing to me because I'm a Republican and vice versa. Shame on our politicians in every state, because that's the problem.
I'm
They
not
can't-
talking politics.
I am.
I'm not talking Democrat, Republican. You come down to Florida, man, and you go in Grady, Judd's County. Criminals do not go there because they know that he will mess them up and he will lock their asses up. They know that in Florida that their asses will be locked up. That if you try and pull any of this, the squatting and everything, your ass will be thrown in prison.
No, I get that, but if you look at the numbers of officers killed in Florida versus a lot of other states, unfortunately it's high.
Well, based on population, sure.
Yeah, but I'm saying nobody wants an officer dead. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your political stand is. Nobody wants a dead officer. And instead of us pointing the finger at people, we need to help them in that decision making, because I'm so tired of the hate. When we got to bury a kid today because he was just out there doing his job. And there was a law, there's a policy out there that says that some lawmaker says, hey, we want to stop in Connecticut, stopping cars for misdemeanor violations. So why he died, some legislator wanted that not to happen, for seatbelts, for other things. Well, guess what? He got killed by a drunk driver.
Who had no license.
Right. But
who
how
had
do we,
already been arrested
but-
previously and
right, but-
should have been behind bars.
But if we take away the right for officers to stop people in these situations, there are just as many people fighting to never make that happen.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
I agree on policy. Timothy McVeigh was caught because of a minor traffic violation.
Absolutely.
And so when you have, and this is where I talk policy versus politics. I don't give a shit if you're a Democrat or Republican. I care very strongly about the policies that are pro-criminal versus pro-police.
Right.
So when you have policies that literally say, yeah, we don't care that you've been charged with assault or third-degree murder, or that you don't have a license, or that you're not in this country legally, none of those things matter. But man, if you kill a cop, we're gonna make sure that we give that cop's family
Oh, I
money.
get, but that's not at the street level. All
I agree.
All I care about is what's at the street level. What is keeping my brothers and sisters safe?
Totally.
And that I put on the politicians. Do your damn job and let these men and women go home. They have a right to go home. And that's where it ends. When you
100%.
cross the island, when you cross the aisle and you say that everybody's life is matters and we're sick of burying police officers,
Totally.
maybe something will change.
Well, and it's not just about the officer that was buried today. It's about his wife and kids that are left.
That's
behind.
right.
Absolutely.
That's right. And that's what it comes down to. It's because he won't play t-ball with his kids anymore. It's because his wife has to make that impassionate speech and his family's missing and his best friend whose life he saved,
Yeah.
who was a Marine who came back broken and basically gives him credit for saving his life. Those things are taken from us.
Yeah.
They lost him, but we all lost Aaron Pelletier. We all lost many officers just like him. And what happens is this pointing fingers and blaming people has got to stop. If we believe in something, we've got to stand up for it. I am so tired of just reading negative articles. Do something about it. If you can write an article of negativity about somebody, then do something about it.
Right.
That's not changing. That is not going to change it. You've got to stand up. You've got to stand up.
Well, if you look at Officer Buchanan, right, in his suicide note, he said, "Make an issue out of my death."
That's right.
And Trish has gone on, absolutely incredible woman. Love her, love the whole family. I mean, Jared, his son, worked for us. They have gone on to truly make an issue out of his death. And so this is where we always have to be careful to separate the politics from the policies. Make an issue out of the death of that officer, respectfully, lovingly, understanding that there's a family left behind out of that, but do better. We all as a society, we all as voters, we all as taxpayers, we all as elected officials need to do better and focus on what's important and how we're going to stop a repetition.
Yeah, if you don't, to anyone who went to that funeral today, who felt it or watched it on TV, if you don't like how you felt today, start making a change today.
Absolutely.
So what's next? What's the next event? What's the next
Well,
goal?
right now we're accepting nominations for 2025, and our ceremony again will be in Fort Worth, Texas, April 11th. And the next goal is obviously to help more officers and keep doing what we're doing. And what our main goal is to support law enforcement.
Nice.
Well, one of the main things Megan said too earlier was just the connecting of people. I mean, you guys had Tom Smith on here. Did you know Tom before our
The
event?
induction ceremony.
I mean, Carly Travis, you guys may have known because of her story being in Connecticut, but I mean, that story is just absolutely incredible. It's really hard to see that she was, what was she, 25, 26?
Right.
And a guy's coming at her with a hammer.
She's amazing. Her story, she was so good up on that stage. Her chief was there to support her. Nicest guy in the world. I think there's a lot to be said for chiefs that are willing to fly across the country to stand by their
Chiefs,
side.
mayors that
We've had a
come
lot.
and stay. It's very respected.
It's just so amazing every year that we see who comes. I mean, I think last year we had people come from 23 states just to our little, I mean, we're hoping to get about 500 people there next year, but we had just over 200 probably, at a really high end place. I mean, when
we just want to show officers that they're appreciated and supported and give them a night to not be humble. Brag about what they're doing because they should. I'm sorry, I'm not out there risking my life for anybody else.
Dude, the food was so good. you know how I roll. You know what's important to me at these events. So I don't care about people. I care about the food. And it was wild.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, it's great heroism, in uniform. I think it's also just as important that guys like one of my personal idols is Officer Tom Norman, down south. And I love watching his stuff on how he just attains community excellence, in the most impoverished neighborhoods in his community, just being there with the kids. That guy's as much a hero as me as the guy who stopped the bank robbery.
Absolutely.
Because he's infecting more lives. And they're all equally as important. There's no doubt about it. Your Tom Smiths of the world are exceptional human beings. And just having the time to talk to him and meet him here and then have dinner with him, he's just beyond.
He's one of a kind.
He
drove us into the city on Tuesday and he was like, okay, I caught a guy here and I ran him all the way down to here through New York. And then they thought we were shooting a movie. And it was just, we got a play-by-play of all these different things that he's went through. And I'm just sitting there like, Yeah, we picked the right one. We're good. We're good. We know what we're doing.
The best thing that you can say about another police officer, you're a cop's cop, and he's a cop's cop.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
There's
yes,
no doubt.
100%.
There's no doubt.
Well, I got to hang out with him with you guys in Texas.
Yep.
Here, I got to hang out with he and his partner Dan scored tickets to the Mar-Lago event with Trump. I got to hang out with him there. He's such a great guy. He's got just such a big heart.
And that's the best part is we're creating this family throughout this organization, and you're a part of the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Today, us experiencing what we did together, I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to forget you. I'll never forget you and your staff and this experience that
He's
you
like
gave
the
us.
cousin that everybody loves when he comes to the family party. I'm like that cousin that everyone's like, is he
When's he
coming?
gonna
And
leave?
no, don't give him any booze when he gets here, okay?
No, you have that comforting soul about you.
Thank you.
And it was nice to have someone there that understood it and could relay it to us and the meaning that it means for you.
Yeah, no, for me, it's just like, to hug people, tell them I love them,
Yeah.
and
The passing out of the waters today.
Waters.
I
That
just
was
handed
so
waters
cool.
to law enforcement because I'm like,
She was
you
able to
feel
do
like you
something,
have to do
just handing them
something.
as they were walking down the line. And the funny part was, people know them too. So, Brian Gould was there, and unfortunately they didn't get there until after I was talking. I said, "Oh, guess who's here?" No way. He was all excited, and Alec Iorado was walking through,
We
and,
got to see
and I
him.
yelled him, and he looked back and saw them, and he's like, Yep. So, you guys are pretty known and very well respected for what you do. I will say loved.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because your compassion is very strong.
Mhm.
And if you want people to read a room, find a cop.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
We'll pick phony out of real any day.
That's why this has not been easy.
Yeah.
Because the skepticism, right?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you one more quick
Oh.
story just because this shows how full circle we came, and it's Dan Murphy and Tom. Last year, after our induction ceremony, we went to Boston to be with the Boston Boys, we call them, the Leo Support Foundation. They
Your hat.
created, yes, they made these hats, and they also do quick clot kits for law enforcement
And
departments
tourniquets.
and tourniquets. So we're there visiting them to help with their fundraiser. And I'm on LinkedIn just scrolling a little bit. I'm posting, after the event, we post a lot of things. And here's Dan Murphy saying, "What is this all about? Seems like a lot of Toledo cops. I think this is a bunch of BS." And I'm like, I was like, I'm going to tell you what, it isn't. And this is why. Let me tell you my story. We started small in Toledo and we got here. And then I'm like, Megan, relax, take a step back. He is in law enforcement. Everyone will be skeptical if he doesn't call him. Say, call me. So I said, hey, you got a minute? Give me a call. I'd rather talk to you about what we're doing. After that, we're best friends for life. And he just said, yep, I really messed that one up, didn't I? And I go, no, but I thought you were just an asshole cop being skeptical of me. And you thought I was just trying to take advantage of law enforcement.
There you go.
And then we worked it out because we had a conversation instead of just being keyboard warriors. And now look at us,
And then he came out to the evening of
Yeah.
prayer and brotherhood. The one,
Yes.
do you remember seeing him? Oh, you didn't see him there because you didn't show
We were
up.
Yeah, we were a little busy. A little busy.
It's almost like you had a massive event sort of on
next day.
But it shows Dan,
Yep.
when he heard your voice in the story, he was fully committed to the point where he flew across the country.
Yeah.
He came out to all of the events and activities surrounding it, was bought in because having been in law enforcement for 25 years, it was whatever it was. He recognizes the lack of individuals who are willing to stand up and powerfully declare, I stand behind law enforcement. So again, to you guys, I love you.
Thank you guys so much.
Shameless plug.
Thank
How can
you.
people learn more about the organization and go donate to the organization and sponsor the next event? Go ahead.
The website's www.nationalleohalloffame.com. As Megan said earlier, we are accepting nominations for next year's event, which is one of the biggest things because our goal is to get 50 nomination or the nomination from each state.
Let's just support these law enforcement officers because they deserve it. And let's be real. We wouldn't be safe, healthy, happy with our families if they weren't out there protecting us.
Amen.
Parting thoughts?
Yeah, just again, another salute to Trooper Pelletier. I think
Absolutely.
one of the most, with the three of us saw this, one of the most candid shots and sobering thoughts was one of his young sons was walking with a trooper, and he bends down, the trooper bends down, and he takes his hat and he put it on his head, and then he went back to his mother. And that really brings it home that hat may be going home but Trooper Pelletier won't be.
Mhm.
To all the men and women out there serving and protecting every day, we got your back. We love you. We want you to be safe, because the best hours of your life are the ones that you spend with your family and loved ones. Don't work too much, as she said today.
Mhm.
Don't work too much overtime. Cherish the good times, because we never know when they're going to end.
Mhm.
All right. God bless you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you guys. God bless you all. God bless America. And what's up, Ernie's mom? We love you.
Thank you for joining us at Choir Practice. For more, please visit lawenforcementtoday.com.